So now we're going to rationalize the root, and this was the same thing when we had imaginary numbers. We can't leave a radical in the bottom. So the way we get rid of a radical in the bottom is we multiply by that radical, because what it's going to do is a square root is when I have two of the same number. If I'm multiplying two of the same number, then the square root is that one number. What it does is it doesn't really get rid of it. It's going to move it from the bottom to the top. That's all it's going to do. So we're going to end up with 7 times 5 is 35. X, and that's going to stay in the square root sign. There's nothing I can do with 35. Underneath, this is 5x times 5x. Well, that would be 25x squared if I actually multiplied them. 25 is a square root of 5, and x squared has a square root of x. So it's going to be 5x. So if I multiply two of the same number, I can just pull out that number. 5x times 5x, the square root is 5x. So this is rationalized. Let's go 35x over 5x. Check. All right. So this one's a little bit more involved because we can't just multiply by the 3 root 2. So when it's in a binomial like this, what we need to do is multiply by what's called its conjugate. And what that means is it's the opposite just for the radical part. Because what it's going to do, and we multiply this both by the top and the bottom, what it's going to do is, if we think back on our difference of squares, it's going to get rid of our middle term. That's exactly what happens there. And the middle term is the radical. So first, let's do the top here, because this is a binomial. We need to distribute this 4, because we're multiplying. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12 root 2. And again, you think of this kind of like a variable. It just kind of gets dragged along with that number. But we don't actually multiply by 4. We only multiply the coefficient. So on this one, I have 7 times 7. And then if I remember the rules for the difference of squares, it's 7 times, it's the first number squared and the second number, darn it, squared, which would be 9 times 2. If I square the square root of 2, it is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. So this ends up being 18. So this would turn into plus 18. The middle two terms disappear, and I can explain, because if I have 7 times negative 3, I get negative 21 root 2, and then if I do this other middle term, I get positive 21 root 2. So negative, positive, they cancel out. So that's why they cancel. So if we remember the rules on difference of squares, we can just square the first and square the last and be done. We don't have to worry about, using FOIL or the whole method there. So this one, we have 49 minus 18, and that gives us 31. So 28 minus 12 root 2 over 31. And 31 is not even. 28 and 12 are even. And only 12 can divide by 3, so I think we're done there. I don't think there's any more reducing that we can do. 12 root 2 over 31. The main purpose here was to just rationalize, which means take the square root out of the denominator. Basically move it up to the top there. All right.